What's up, internet? My name's Ori. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. You like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Today is Monday, September 25th, day number 55 inside the Big Brother house. And we've got a decent amount to go over. Feeds were a little bit different yesterday, but we also have the episode from last night, which for a lot of you I know was much later than others, and we're going to break that all down. The feeds were different, like I said, very reminiscent of season 1 of Big Brother. It was Cory's birthday, lots of shenanigans, even some shower activities that were happening. You're going to want to hear all about that, plus a really interesting conversation between Jared and Cirie discussing what Blue knows. So you're not going to want to miss any of that. Let's start off, though, with the double eviction, kind of the recap we got on the episode. And like I kind of always say, double evictions are two-part episodes. You have the actual double eviction itself, and then maybe what's even more fun is that episode afterwards where you get to see all the things that happened in between the commercial breaks, all those little quick conversations, and how the eviction actually played out. We saw Cory trying to go for Blue and Jared up on the block, but he again kind of debated whether or not it should be Cirie, but he really kind of said, he's like, I just can't have Blue winning the veto and taking Jared off, because that would be a possibility. The thing was, technically, that's a stronger possibility with Cirie, but I guess at least with Cory's knowledge, right? He, one, doesn't realize how close Cirie would be to Jared. Like, yeah, they're close, but he doesn't know if she's that close where she would actually risk doing that. But also, who's more likely to win, Cirie or Blue, in a veto scenario? And plus, he still wasn't 100% sure that Blue wouldn't have put him on the block if she were the one to have won HOH, because it did come down to him and Blue for that HOH. We then also saw, once the veto took place, Matt full-on lying to Jared, saying that he would use the veto on him. We did also see Blue kind of attempting to talk to Cory about getting Cirie up on the block to kind of save Jared, because she's like, if Cirie's up there, then hey, like maybe we can get this to work. But it would not really have mattered. That was the kind of the one thing, is like, she's like, I can just get Cirie up there, like there's a chance he'll stay. But it wouldn't have mattered. Even if Matt used the veto on Blue and Cirie went up on the block, it really just would have been Jared to also go. Just everybody at this point was fully on board with getting Jared out. And Blue kind of admitted to him, she's like, listen, I kind of knew you were the target, and like I was just trying to get them to put Cirie up, but I don't think they're gonna do it. They're gonna leave it the same. And this is what kind of started all the aftermath that we saw on the feeds, where Jared was, you know, really disappointed in her, saying that she didn't tell him about stuff. But she did kind of make it seem like she knew for longer during the double. But also, I think she was, you know, thinking he wasn't coming back. So, like, what's the harm of saying it? So, as soon as he walked back in, it really just changed everything. Now, we did also see the conversation that we heard about with Bowie in the bathroom, where she was kind of pulled in by Cirie, Felicia, and Mimi about potentially keeping Jared. And they were saying, well, we have the votes right here. And Bowie's like, I hear differently. It was, she really didn't know what to say. She's like, I'm not voting to keep him. Everybody else is voting him out. I'm not. So yeah, bye. Felicia and Mimi, like, they kind of seemed like they were playing along with it, but they didn't really want to keep Jared either. And it was just very obvious that Cirie was the only one who wanted to keep him in this situation. Everybody ends up voting for Jared except for Cirie, but everybody comes right on back in with the zombie twist. Cirie is like the only one who's super excited to see this. In fact, I think a little too excited. Again, people kind of realized at this point, like, they were close, but they still don't realize how close, right? Like, literally by DNA. So it kind of seemed like maybe she should have toned that down a little bit, but also I can't really blame her for being excited that her son just came back in the game. Then after that, we did see the Brown Sugar Babes fight. Jared was really going in on Felicia, saying like, you really played me in this eviction. Like, why, you know, were you saying you were going to vote for me, but then you weren't going to vote for me? Like, you guys had the ability that you could have kept me, but you never did want to. And Bowie wasn't on board. And she kind of says like, well, hey, wait a minute. You and Cirie lied to me all last week about the vote on whether or not you were going to keep me or Izzy. And now that I played you, I'm the bad guy all of a sudden? Like, whoa, 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 whoa. And things kind of got fairly heated, right? Like, it wasn't a full-on fight, but it was an argument. At one point, like, Cirie kind of like stood up and got in her face, like, and it was going back and forth. Jared ended up like kind of removing himself from the situation, which, as much again as we want to talk about how, you know, Jared's got lots of character flaws, this was one where it's like, hey, at least he kind of had the self-awareness to be like, I should just remove myself from this before I end up saying anything that I'm going to regret. He does end up coming on back in, as does Mimi as well, and she's like, what is like, we talked about this before, how Mimi might be the only sane one in the house, in just a house full of just complete lunatics as far as she's concerned. So it can be a struggle for her when all of this stuff is going on. And she literally says in the diary room, she's like, everybody I was aligned with, like, going into the day, are all fighting right now. You have everybody outside of the room kind of all listening in, like, on in there. And that really let everybody know, like, oh yeah, there was this alliance of these four. Cory, like, had it kind of click in his head, like, oh, yeah, there were the brown sugar babes. We didn't really see that on the episode, but we've been hearing about it on the live feeds. So I was really glad that we got to see this kind of all go down, because, wow, it was a very entertaining little argument that we got to see. And honestly, Felicia, there wasn't a winner, right? Like, it kind of just ended with everybody just kind of saying a lot of stuff, right? Whether it was truths, lies, like they were all kind of lying to each other and making jabs and stuff. But really, Felicia made the right points, right? Like, she had the best point where she said, you guys lied to me. Now you're mad that I lied to you. Tell me how that's fair, right? Like, I can't be mad at you, but you can be mad at me when I do it to you, right? Do as I say, not as I do, kind of stuff. Now, other than that, we get into the zombie competition, which really ends up being called the Resurrection Rumble, which is an interesting little name. I'm actually a little bit proud to say it was pretty much how I described it from night one. There were a few little details, right? Like, we knew that it was going to be like 3 separate things, but really it was just like 3 rounds that weren't really scored necessarily. It was still like first to finish, but they had like a time limit each round, and then they would stop them. They'd have to stop the competition. They would go back inside, do their thing, and then later pick it back up again. So it was a little confusing on that. Also, the night of, like, Felicia was saying things about them having to choose people, and it's like, that didn't make any sense. That was throwing us off. But otherwise, it seemed like we were pretty dead on how it works. The winner of this first seesaw competition will then get the ability to choose whether or not they want to play or pass on the last competition, meaning they have the full control over their fate. If they play and they win, they're back in the game. If they play and they lose, the other person's back in the game. And if they give that power to the other person, same thing goes. If that other person wins, that person's back in the game. They're out. And if that person loses, you are back in the game. So kind of an interesting way this is playing out. We saw, you know, even Jag was really giving advice to Cameron between rounds, being like, hey, if you do this and that. And both had different strategies. Jared was kind of going more for the bigger balls and putting them onto the shovel, where Cameron was going for the smaller balls. And actually, like, I don't know what the better strategy is with this. Cameron seemed like he was having much more success. And I think the smaller balls makes more sense, right? For a couple of reasons. The bigger balls have a lot more mass to them, so they're more likely to actually knock off other balls off the shovel when they bounce into each other. Plus, those bigger balls have a little bit more bounce when they go around, so they're going to be able to bounce out of the shovel more. And the smaller balls, they can almost roll all the way to the edge, but because they're so small, they're not really getting a lot of momentum to get to the edge, and keep that going. So it seemed like the smaller balls was kind of the play until you start to get the more stacked up, then you have to get those big ones on there. And each of them had to restart a few times because all it takes is one ball falling off and then you have to completely start over. Cameron had a really good lead on Jared at one point, like almost half the balls on the shovel. He had to get 30 of them. He had almost like a 15 ball lead. And then he had to start over. And the episode kind of ends on a cliffhanger. We don't find out who wins. We know who won from the feeds. But that person will get the ability to pass or play on Thursday. And we didn't find that out. Now, I don't normally do this, but it was suggested that, hey, Cory, why don't you give some ratings for the episode so that we can kind of get an idea what you would like and don't. And I think this was a really good episode. It was a lot of fun. I do have to take some points off for it being a cliffhanger. I really don't like when they do that, especially because we already know a lot of the information, right? As live feed watchers, we're fully aware on who actually won this first part. So to do the cliffhanger really is only for the TV watchers, so I have to take some points off for that. Otherwise, though, it was a really good episode with the double eviction recap and most of it being taken up by the Resurrection Rumble. So overall, I don't want to go too high because this is the first one, right? We need room to grow. This wasn't a perfect episode. And with it being the cliffhanger, let's go. It's a little bit better than average. It would be higher if it wasn't the cliffhanger. We're going to start off first ever Ori rating 7.5 out of 10. That's what I'm going to give the episode, 7.5. Now, let's go and talk about the live feeds because like I said earlier, we're kind of in season 1 territory for the feeds. I mean, hey, BBUK is right around the corner, coming on back for the first time in a long time. And overall, because there's not anything really for them to do, there's no HOH, no nominations, we won't have a veto. Like normally today we'd be waiting to find out like what the veto winner is gonna do. Today would be the veto ceremony. We got nothing. There has been no sign of anything. It seemed like there would be more things going on with the scary verse theme and everything and the zombies. But I guess with everything that was going on with the resurrection, they wanted to get that done first, and then maybe they'll do more. We've got 3 whole days here. Like, I don't know what they're gonna do, but hopefully they do something. But it was pretty tame to start, and then eventually things got a little bit wilder. There wasn't a lot of movement game-wise. There's always game conversations going on, but they end up being kind of loopy circle talks, right? Where nothing really gets done or changed. There was a really nice, interesting conversation between Jared and Cory. Most of it is just smoke and mirrors, but overall, it was kind of them just like clearing the air, right? Like talking about his like, hey, no hard feelings, really, right? Like we both took shots at each other. They were kind of talking about just how things played out, and it was a nice conversation. Again, how much of it really was them being honest with each other? Probably very little. But it was still kind of nice to see them kind of clearing the air and talking about it, because they were very close allies for a long time, until Jared started to get very worried about what he was telling America, and that really drove a wedge in between them. Some other interesting things was a conversation between Felicia and Mimi. And we kind of talked about how yesterday they were saying they really wanted to break up Jag and Matt. And they kind of went even further with this. I was actually under the assumption that they might rather keep Jag around than they would keep Matt around. But Felicia here was actually saying the opposite of that. She would like to get rid of Jag, then Matt kind of comes over to their side. And same thing with Cory. They get rid of him, America will come on over to their way. And Mimi kind of worries because she's like, the one problem with that, though, is Matt would take down Jag, right? Obviously, America would also take down Cory, but Matt would take down Jag. So that's an issue where you would have to put both of them up together in order to get one of them out. Because if Matt takes them down, you just took a shot at 2 really strong competitors, and they're both still in the game. Not great. Not a great thing for them. Felicia kind of says, like, it's gonna work. We're gonna get this to work. We've beaten the odds before, so we'll get it to work. Then we had a really interesting conversation with Jared and Cirie talking about how much Blue knows about their situation. And it kind of starts off with her asking, he's like, hey, have you ever mentioned your dad's name? Because I might have said something yesterday. And he's like, no, but I think she's catching on. And he tries to blame Cirie, right? Because he says, like, did you tell her like this story? Like, I told her a story about how I got in trouble in New York on New Year's Eve. And I don't know what the story was. I was trying to get some context of it, but I honestly don't know what that story was. But apparently he told Blue about this. Cirie, I guess, told a story that was very similar. I would assume without saying it was Jared, but like one of her sons. And I'm guessing maybe he was with his brothers or something. So it was like, that's how it kind of came up. Because I doubt she would just tell a story about Jared. Like, that would be very silly if she just did that. So I assume like one of his brothers was there or something along those lines. Maybe his dad was involved and his dad was there or something. And that's how it all came up. But Jared said, like, after that story, like, he was like, I think she really knows. Like, she like kind of looked at both of us and like, I think she's going to ask about it. He's like, my gut tells me she knows. And Cirie just tells him, deny, 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 deny. Like, whatever happens, you never give it to her, right? Like, I don't care. She could have your social security number, right? Like, you will always deny and not be honest with her about that. And then Jared kind of jokes with her and he's like, man, like, couldn't you just like keep your mouth shut? And Cirie instantly snaps back with, oh, like you did with Matt's power? I'm paraphrasing there. Keep it a little PG. But she let him have it. And he was like, oh, I think I need to go to the DR and talk about that one. I need to process that. Jared also mentions how Blue had realized that they used the same toothpaste and things like that. But again, really tries to kind of push that it seems like he thinks Cirie was letting up too much. Wait until she figures out how much she actually knows and why. Because Cirie's probably going to be pretty mad about this whole situation. Then, oh boy. Did things get a little wild on the feeds? You see, it was Cory's birthday. Well, technically it's on Friday, but they gave them all a bunch of booze and party supplies. So they started having a really good time. This led to a lot of fun feeds with messy conversations and just good fun all around. Some highlights included Cory getting a lap dance, which we didn't see, but it was a lap dance from Felicia. And it sounded like it was a riot. Jag and Jared both were dying laughing when the feeds finally came back. They were calling Cory a legend. And then maybe one of the funniest things I've seen in a very long time. Cory in America, where they were doing this little like skit in the shower for the, you know, they have the selfie cam that kind of goes around and they do like random things. And they were doing like a little skit in there. And then once the camera left, they were kind of still in the shower together. They were in their swimsuits and stuff. It wasn't that crazy, but they were, you know, they were having fun. They were getting a little makeout session in. And then they hear Felicia and Jag start coming in. So America just dips down and she hides in the shower. So all you see is Cory's head. He's like, hi. They come on in and they're like, oh, hey, where's America? Jag's like, is she in the bathroom? And he like knocks on the door and like nobody answers. So he opens it. Oh, she's not in there. Where, like, do you know where she is? And Cory's just like, I mean, she was in there. I don't know where she is now. And then they just hear the giggling from America. And Felicia's face was like, oh, Jag, let's leave them alone. They go outside and they start telling everybody what they just saw in there. And the way she describes it, it sounds worse than it is, but also is very accurate on what she saw. She's like, me and Jag went in there. All of a sudden, we heard America's giggles, but we could not see her. She was down low where we could not see. Like, so I told Jag, let's get out of there. So she wasn't wrong with how she described it, but it sounded worse than it really was. But when this whole scenario went down, I was having a good time laughing at this one. That really was pretty funny. Eventually though, after all that kind of fun and just everybody kind of having a good time, there were some other little conversations here and there, but most of them all went to bed. I believe they have to wake up pretty early today, so we'll see how that kind of all plays out as well. Again, maybe there will be some of those scary things that we said. I think this is also, listen, there were 2 days in a row of Ori rants. There is no Ori rant today. We can relax, but I think this kind of goes to the point of, like, I think people give a little bit too much credit to production, and they overestimate the effort that they put into this show. Like, we've got zombies that are just wearing a bunch of rags. There's no face paint on them. There's no other scary things that have been happening. Like, even in past seasons, they've had stuff where, like, somebody's been, like, brushing their teeth in the bathroom and something will, like, pop up on the mirror and, like, scare them, right? Like, things have happened that they've had fun with before. And we're getting, like, none of that. I think people are just severely overestimating what production is capable of. Remember what I said about an Ori rant? I might have to do that. My camera decided to shut off. Honestly, as I went to edit the video, I realized that the camera shut off during my outro. You didn't miss a lot. I was pretty much wrapping things up anyway, but once again, I just want to thank you guys all so much for watching. This channel has been just really on a crazy run. We went from 7,000 subscribers to 8,000. Now we're already on our way to 9. Just the love and support that you guys all show me each and every video is amazing. And it makes things that usually would get me very frustrated, like the camera shutting off, not as bad, because I know that you guys are all supporting me there no matter what. And it's been really kind of cool too, because actually twice now over the past few days, weird things have kind of happened. My ears were burning a little bit, and yeah, people are really starting to notice me, not just with you guys, but other BB YouTubers. People like Tom Talks and BB Boy, both kind of acknowledging me on their channels, which is just kind of a weird thing to then be brought into the idea of, like, oh, there's, like, I'm getting to the point where other people are recognizing me too. There's so many great Big Brother YouTubers out there, though. People like Kayla Fro, Mad Rose, Matt and Jess. I know a lot of you guys watch Cliff and his Cliff Notes, so it just to be kind of like in that conversation of other YouTubers who cover Big Brother. Obviously the big dog around here, everybody knows them, but it's just really kind of interesting and fascinating for me as just this goofy dude who talks about Big Brother and puts it on the internet, just to kind of see how this has all been going. So thank you guys all so much. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Check out the links to all of my socials in the description down below. Things like the Kick, Twitter, Discord. Excuse me, the coffee starting to get to me. The Discord's been a lot of fun chatting with everybody, and it's been kind of really cool because I can't get to all of the YouTube comments, but on Discord I've been having a lot of really good chats with people there because it's a little bit easier to keep track of conversations because it all kind of flows nicely, and plus it's really cool to see you guys interacting with each other, so that's always a lot of fun. And just once again, thank you guys again. I really cannot thank you enough for just watching, just literally just watching. Even if you have never comment, you never hit the like button, just you here watching every day still kind of blows my mind. So thank you guys again so much, and I will see you next time.